All right, like I told you earlier on, we're going to talk about a rare disease. Perhaps you have it and you don't know because the name perhaps doesn't seem to be familiar to you. It's called the Idiopathic Intracranial Hypertension. I was really a shocker when I heard it the first time. But we have Susan Mwanzia here in studio, who is a patient, still recovering. She's going to tell us more about it. Welcome to the Power Breakfast Show.
Thank you.
So let's begin from the very word, idiopathic intracranial hypertension. What is it all about?
Well, as you had said earlier, it's a neurological disorder. It is...
Neurological means it has something to do with the nerves.
And the head also.
And the head.
Neuro, yes.
Neuro, okay.
Because the cerebrospinal fluid, when it compresses your brain, it's basically just like a false tumor in your head. You have the cerebrospinal fluid coming to compress your brain. Then you get the headaches. That is idiopathic intracranial hypertension.
All right. So
when you have a headache, you don't take aspirin, or you don't take a headache.
This kind of a headache does not respond to such aspirin, Panadol and paracetamol. It is unique in its own way. It is a very cruel disease. The cause is unknown, because idiopathic etiology means unknown.
Unknown.
What
Yes.
do you mean unknown?
Unknown because when you have such kind of a headache, when I talk about myself, because this is what I went through.
Your experience.
One day I just woke up and everything was foggy.
Uh-huh.
And I could not see clearly. I lost a little bit of balance, and I was having a very severe headache. It was so much that I had to go and seek doctor's advice. And I went to the hospital, and I was told to have a CT scan because the headache was not responding to any medication I was given at that particular time. And when they did a CT scan, nothing was shown, but the headache was still much. My blood pressure lowered up to 65, 35, 65, and they said I had to go into admission because the pressure of the head was too much. I could not, I was seeing blood vision, and my eyes were a bit red. Even as when you look at me now, I have a bit of reddish eyes, yeah. Mm-hmm. So I was admitted, and they did more tests. And the more tests that they did was MRI. Nothing was revealed. Kept me there with medication, no response. I was getting worse and worse. And they decided to do what we call a lumbar puncture, the drainage of the cerebrospinal fluid, to try and test if it is meningitis or migraine. All this was negative. And I was told that now, when they did the lumbar puncture, something strange happened. The opening pressure of a lumbar puncture is usually about 100 to 200 milliliters. But my case, it was over 350. Whereby it was generating a lot of the cerebrospinal fluid, excessive coming to pressure, put pressure on my brain. That is why I was having that severe headache. And this is when they came to know that I had idiopathic intracranial hypertension.
Oh, so that's the experience.
So where does it come from?
The headache.
condition.
Human beings have the cerebrospinal fluid, Mutegi.
So was it much or little?
It was a lot, over 350 ml, when normal is 100 to 200.
So I'm asking, where did it come from? Where that excessive one come from?
It is unknown.
And even
That
the
is why
causes
I say the causes are unknown.
But
the symptoms are headache, severe headache, the nausea, the vomiting,
double vision.
and double vision. And even they did a test on my eyes, and I had developed papilledema. This is where that I had
You developed
papilledema.
What is that?
It is the excessive pressure of the optic nerve, where the eye, whereby yes, if it is not treated, then you have vision loss.
There's another fact here that it is common in young women, especially with obesity. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, on my case, I'm not obese. I am average. And it is not basically in obese, but some women, young women, you know, they always taking the hormonal contraceptives. Some which have the estrogen that can lead to this kind of situation. And some causes, they say that it can come from vitamin E. But basically this bit, I will leave it to the neurosurgeons because they know more about all nitty-gritty things. With me, I was not obese. My vitamin A were normal. They were just okay. But then the opening pressure of the lumbar puncture was what was high. And you only measure the opening pressure by using a manometer, a tool that when you've done a lumbar puncture, then they insert the manometer to take the opening pressure of your lumbar puncture. Then it was found that I have IIH.
So how did they treat you? What was the treatment?
First, I've been in the hospital for the last 2 months, if I may say, in Aga Khan. I went on the 28th of May. My surgery was done in 9th of July. The whole time they were trying to control it with a drug called Diamox. Diamox has been said, and the best research has proven that it can take the pressure down, because what they were trying to do is to take the pressure down of the cerebrospinal fluid. And this did not work. I was put on steroids for like 2 weeks. You cannot put on steroids for long, dexamethasone. You have to agree to that the medicine that I was given over a period of 1.5 months was not working. Also, another way of treating this kind of disease is by having lumbar punctures. I had over 10 lumbar punctures repeatedly. And you cannot continue having more lumbar punctures because you can also take the risk of creating the spinal infection. So I opted to go for the surgery. The surgery is whereby I was placed a shunt in my spine.
What is a shunt?
It is like a regulator put in with some devices, some plastic, with a catheter in to remove the excessive cerebrospinal fluid, drain it out in another way, not to just go up to the brain, but it is when the brain gets enough, it is diverted. Then it passes through the catheter into my bladder. Then I go to the toilet.
So in fact, it's
a bladder.
The shunt.
You have a catheter inside you?
Yes, for drainage.
So in fact, even right now as we're talking, it's that shunt that is keeping you stable.
Me well.
Because if we have this,
God willing, it might stay for long. I believe in God, and I thank God that I'm alive today. I can share this with you and create awareness with the people. I might stay for 4 years before it blocks, because the catheter one is a free end for the drainage. It can block. When it blocks, I go back to the same process again, to the same headache. I have to go get the surgery, take it out, put another one in. So with this, it's just about God. I cannot say I can do it on my own.
Right now, of course, as you told us earlier, the place of even sitting, you cannot sit for a very long time, even standing.
Because of the pressure. When you sit down, the shunt is working miracles, and it's regulating, it's diverting the cerebrospinal fluid. But most of the time, if I sit, I feel the pressure at the back of my head. So I tend not to, because I just came out from the hospital on the 13th of July. I'm still on the recovering period. And I pray to God that it can actually take a longer time before I start feeling what I used to feel. But I believe it is not going to relapse. I have the faith.
What happened to people who are married and they need relationships? When you have that shunt, whatever.
It is not connected. No, it is not connected with anything. You can even give birth to 10 children.
Oh, all right.
Yes.
All right. And in terms of...
When isn't, if it's in the spinal cord and you get pregnant, and does the pressure not
increase? Has the elasticity.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
In terms of the mode of, passing it from one person to another, is it contagious?
It is not contagious.
Or is it hereditary or something?
It is not hereditary.
All right. And something else, perhaps, when we focus on the expense, because being an Aga Khan for 2 months, how's it in terms of dealing with the financial side of it?
It is very expensive. And even as we are talking, I'm having friends coming together next week on Friday to actually support me in the bill, because the shunt alone is over $500,000. The shunt.
Just the
shunt.
Why should it be $500,000?
Because it is procured outside the country. It is a very sophisticated device. It is something that it's out of the ordinary, because the way it is totally expensive. It even has some things that I cannot mention here, because when I mention, people will start following me out to actually find out, can we remove it from her so we can sell it?
What?
Yes.
No, you see, when you talk of symptoms like headache, nausea, vomiting, double vision, I mean, people have such symptoms. Should it be a cause for some sort of worry or something?
It should be a cause of worry, but also not, because unless you have done some tests to rule out other causes. For example, you have done the CT scan, you've done the MRI, you've done the blood works and everything to rule out migraine and meningitis. Then you definitely will have a cause to worry. Because if all the results are coming negative, why are you still suffering? Why are you still having the same headache? Just have a lumbar puncture done. Mm-hmm. And then find out, how is your CSF flow? Is it excessive? The cerebrospinal fluid. Mm-hmm. Is it high, or your opening pressure? Is it low? The doctors will be able to tell you.
Right. Have you met other people, patients who have the same?
No.
How rare is it?
No.
Are you the only Kenyan with it?
So is it?
I really, the children, there are some children who have the shunt in their heads.
In their head?
With the same problem, the IIH, they are there.
Children, though?
Yeah, but you know why the children are put in their heads? It's because the children tend to grow. And when you put it in the spine, when you grow, it keeps on coming out. Because if you look at it somewhere, the children, of course, the child grows, and you expect the spine to grow as well. So it will come out. So they will tend to have many surgeries of the shunt placed. So they opt to be put in their brains, in their heads. Why I was not put in my brain is because I also have the small ventricles. These veins could not take in. So I was to go for the spine.
All right. So Susan Mwanzia, of course, you've told us about your experience, and you've introduced this rare disease, idiopathic intracranial hypertension. What is your message to people who have been watching you from the time you started talking up to this moment? What is your message?
My message is, I'm only trying to create awareness. And I feel for the children, I feel for the young women who have the same kind of symptoms and they don't know, or maybe they know, but they cannot afford to do this. I wish them well. And I want to tell them that some people, like in the rural areas, will actually tell you when a child is having such a problem, the headache, and it is not migraine, it is not meningitis, they tell you the kid has been bewitched. Maybe the kid was reading very well and all of a sudden, a headache, then the child loses eyesight, becomes blind. And villages will start attacking Mutegi, Mwakazi, because you actually bewitched my child. No. Let them get more tests. I really don't know how Kenyans we're going to do this, our government. I don't know how we're going to create that medical insurance to assist such kind of people, because the medical insurance is very important as well. Yes, I had, but it passed my limit. That's why I'm having this fundraising.
Wow. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much indeed for your time, Susan Mwanzia. And of course, you've heard it. It's important for us to have the awareness about what is happening to our bodies. And if you feel you've tried this and that, it's important to check, have a plan B, find out what is happening. Well, it's been a great honor indeed serving you here on the Power Breakfast Show today, being a Friday. Many thanks indeed. Do have a blessed weekend. My name is Johnson Mwakazi. And of course, Susan Mwanzia. Many thanks.
Thank you.